John Anthony, by the way, sitting in for Dan Profit. Why are you wearing glasses?
In honor of Nick.
In honor of who?
Nick, your volleyball player.
Well, no, they wear goggles
I
to
know.
protect themselves from. They're playing the senior assassin game,
Yeah.
which really has been quite problematic, where
Yeah.
people take squirt guns and try to shoot another senior with water.
Oh,
But
the
in
prank.
one case,
Yeah.
well, there was a rollover accident in Itasca, and everyone's doing it. It's not just CPS; the
Ugh.
whole state is doing it. There was a rollover accident in Itasca. Thank God they survived.
That's dangerous.
And then kids in the suburb, and I don't know what suburb, so shame on me, but they walked into a pancake house. They had masks on, and their water guns looked like guns. And someone with a concealed carry got out his weapon.
Yeah.
And thank God he didn't shoot them. But seriously, I mean, that's
I
want this
insane.
game to go away.
That's not a good game.
Yeah, but the people that I know have the big neon,
Right.
so
I mean,
it looks like a water gun.
But they have fake guns that look real.
I
mean,
know.
real guns that look fake.
I know.
They're real guns, like Hello Kitty and things of that nature.
Really?
I wouldn't. Yeah. You
There's a
haven't seen them?
Hello Kitty weapon?
Yeah. People soup their guns up.
Really?
Oh yeah. You never seen a Hello Kitty?
A Hello Kitty.
Hello Kitty.
Do
I
they
mean,
put
you name-
decals on the
They can
9mm?
it's literally it's I don't know if I've seen I've held a Hello Kitty 45 in my hand.
Okay.
Yeah, I have, and people will put all type of stuff on their weapons.
All right. Moving on.
And they're right.
Is our House Speaker Mike Johnson moving on? We don't know.
Uh-oh.
And it's been back and forth. And what is going on with more of this? Let's welcome to the program Congressman Mike Bost from the 12th Congressional
Hi, Amy.
District. Good
Hi,
morning,
John.
Congressman. How are you?
Hey, buddy.
Just before you move off the other subject, I considered buying my wife Tracy a few years ago a Hello Kitty concealed carry weapon,
See?
but we thought with grandkids that would probably not be wise, so she got one that looks like a real weapon.
See?
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to Google
Yeah,
images this and
They're
see
out
what
there.
they look
all
like.
type of cartoon characters.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Who knew? All right. First of all,
knew?
congratulations on your victory. It's been a while since we spoke.
Thank you very much. That
How-
was a lot, it's a very competitive race, we worked our tail off over all 34 of the counties. We ran a positive campaign. It was closer than what a lot of our polls showed. That could be for lack of turnout or smaller turnout on the west side than the east side when we analyze it. But we thank our constituents for sending us back, and now we have to get focused on general.
Well, how was your relationship with Darren Bailey?
He called while I was on stage announcing we had won, and then I tried to call him back. He then didn't pick up. Then he called me back with a nice message. We better have a very good relationship, or at least I hope we will, because we're both delegates for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And Dan Bailey's a good dude.
Oh, yeah.
I
I mean, I
definitely
was just
think so.
surprised that he challenged you.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were.
Yeah,
so.
me too. And believe me, that's what I brought up quite often on every Lincoln Day dinner and everything else. And so the way it went down, I got every endorsement of every conservative group, and the President Trump's endorsement. And it was a nice Trump endorsement. He said nothing negative about Darren, but explained why that I was 100% with him when he was president and always have been. And so, at any rate, so it turned out well, and we're gonna, like I said, our focus has to be on gaining more seats in the House, so that we don't have to play games with the fact that certain people want to try to, every time we turn around, make a motion to vacate the chair.
Well, there's a lot of rumors coming out of the D.C. Rumor mill right now. What is going on with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Speaker Johnson?
Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think, and I want to say this, and I want to say it as nice as I can. I'm not bad-mouthing Marjorie, but there are certain people, Marjorie is one, and Matt Gaetz would be one, that when their numbers start falling on their likes, on their Facebook page, they need something else to do to bring them up. She didn't agree with the speaker on the possibility of, I think, separating this question and or bringing all of these things forward the week before the attack on Israel, by the way. But then I thought maybe she would back off when she got back here. But then, also Massey got into it with the speaker. And the thing is, you don't really get into it with the speaker. The speaker's not going to fight with you. He's going to deal with what he's going to deal with. He's going to try to make peace with you. But then sometimes these moves, though they were legit within our rules, and I hope your listeners understand that, the motion to vacate has been in place for over 200 years. It was never used except, and the only time it was changed was when Nancy Pelosi became Speaker. She then changed the number from one single person could make the motion. But the only time it was ever used in our history was when we had a speaker from Illinois by the name of Joe Cannon, and he actually made the motion on himself.
Oh,
and
really?
that motion on him, to show that he still had power. And he ended up having to go to the Democrats to keep his position, but anyway, he proved it. And then if you go forward, then at the request of Freedom Caucus, it was put back, and it was put back. And then Matt Gaetz and his group were the first one to use it on Kevin.
Right.
But we've got to see, and so there's a whole group of members that are asking to have that withdrawn.
Yes, please.
However, the speaker had changed back to possibly 5 members, so that way it can't be that vicious threat with a small majority, But what the speaker tweeted out yesterday, X'd out or whatever you want to call it now. Any rate, he X'd out that it takes a majority of the entire House to change the rule. It doesn't look like that we would have those votes, and since you do not have those votes, we'll move on with the rules the way they are. And so there's still a group wanting to call for it, and there's a group I think that actually is probably looking at Democrats to do the same. Because, look, we saw what happened when Kevin was taken out. And everybody says, oh, that was 3 weeks of terror. No, it took 12 weeks to get us back on track. And so we don't need to go down that path again. Look, we've got a farm bill to pass. We've got to focus on what this funding is for Israel, working with our allies, whether Ukraine or Guam, Taiwan. But we've got to start governing again and quit fighting among ourselves.
I definitely agree, Congressman Bost. Congressman Bost, as I look at the Mike Gallaghers, the Ken Bucks of the world, especially how Mike Gallagher is leaving his congressional seat in Wisconsin. I believe today's the deadline. If he wanted to resign today, Wisconsin can still hold a special election. Why do you think the Mike Gallagher is doing what he's doing, and is this somehow connected to a Kevin McCarthy retribution type thing?
No, I don't. I think what happened is and Mike is a very good man. And he'll hold to his convictions. His convictions and his way he votes might be different than mine, very seldom, but on I think the thing, and you're going to be surprised by this, but I watched him that day when we were together. He's not told me this, so I'm not talking on turn. I'm talking, okay, watch what I watch Mike. Okay. Because he's the head of the China task force. He's an unbelievable legislator. And I think that he was frustrated that the Marcus impeachment vote, and he took a lot of heat because he did not go with him for the vote to impeach. His argument was that the impeachment is not to be used this way. If you want to really talk about it, all Marcus was doing is following the orders of the commander in chief, and if that might be the problem. But he took a lot of heat on that. And I think he finally became frustrated because to somebody to claim, when you take one vote and then all of a sudden the whole group comes out and nationwide and says, oh, you're not a real conservative. Well, no, you're maybe disagreed on one issue.
Right.
It was a big issue. Yeah, it was. But I think that day is when he realized he doesn't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. And
it's too bad because I begged him to stay.
Because I mean, he resigns today. Or after today, I don't know what officially his day is, but that leaves his seat open until November.
Special election, correct?
Right, because they can't have a special election before the November election. That we now have. So now from April to November, his seat will remain open. Correct?
That's right. That's right, and that puts us down until we have a couple other special elections going on, which we're pretty sure are Republican seats. So for a few weeks, we will be down to a 1-vote majority. Then I think we'll pop back up to a 2 and then a 3 before we're to the the next primary.
You're not afraid.
Do you
I'm
have a
sorry.
strong Republican running for Mike Gallagher's seat?
It's a Republican seat.
I mean, it's for sure.
Oh, yeah,
It'll be
it's definitely
guaranteed.
a
Oh yeah.
Okay.
The three that we're counting the three will be those ones that if they turn Democrat, that'll shock everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But are you?
they're as strong a Republican seat as mine.
Yeah. See, I had Richard Porter in studio with me last Saturday, and you know, this is my fear. We motion to vacate. We get rid of Mike Johnson, and then you get three Republicans who they know they have a hard election coming up, especially if they're in a dominant Democrat area, and they defect, and then now they make Hakeem Jeffries the new Speaker of the House. That's quite possible, right?
Sure, that's possible. That's possible. The frustration that we're feeling around here, and the thing is, I think there's a group. As long as they get their likes on Facebook, they don't care, because it's not. Look, John, you and I worked together several years.
Yes.
And whenever I govern, I'm governing for the future of my children and grandchildren in this nation.
Yeah.
And you've got to do that.
Yes.
It's not about getting on a 24-hour news network. It's not about getting likes on a social media page. Quit that. Let's govern. And the sad thing is, a lot of people take just bits and pieces. They trust you and you said something, but you don't. You can. And then they try to back it up with half truths. And look, governing's hard.
It is.
It is. But when you're in the majority, you have to govern. When you're in the minority, you can communicate. That means you can say, no, I wouldn't want this, and I wouldn't want this, I wouldn't want this. But when you're actually the ones that have to deliver, getting the bills across the threshold, and which including, funding to operate government, making sure that we're doing all the things that we're supposed to do in the Constitution, providing for national defense, securing our borders. There's a good one. All of those things. And when it comes to, we work on a lot of things, including Farm Bill and things like that are in the interior of the nation as well. But, interstate commerce, that's on the Constitution. The rest of it is just operation of government. You've got to know and understand. We can argue and disagree, but we don't, conflict is inevitable, combat's optional. So, unfortunately, we have more that want to go to combat against each other.
All right, what are your thoughts? You're a Trump delegate. What are your job responsibilities? How's it looking out there?
Well, we're out. We're all as far as the state's concerned. We have phone calls or have our proxies call in and collect all the information that we're needing to do with trying to get out the vote. Illinois is, we're doing everything we can to make sure that the president's people don't, write it off. We want to make sure that we get people involved. And, the numbers are looking good in the states that he has to have and I say really good, in the states that he has to have to switch what happened last time. Of course, we also want to make sure that, understand the federal government does not control the elections.
Right.
And regardless of what the Democrats want to do. According to the Constitution right there, the state legislatures sets how the elections work. And so when I have people come up and go, well, you got to do something about voter fraud. Well, no, each state has to do something about voter fraud.
Right.
And we in Illinois haven't necessarily done a good job with that. For years it's been the joke about Chicago that you vote Republican and then you die and then you'll vote Democrat the rest of your day. And so as far as being a delegate is concerned, it's making sure you're there, making sure you're organized to have your votes together. And with this one, there's not, sometimes you can get involved and there might be an undercurrent of some of those that want to flip the delegates or something might happen or anything like that. I don't see that. We're united, even to the point that, like the case in the Illinois 12, Darren and I ran against each other, but we're united on Trump.
Right.
So,
and Congressman, I know a lot of people don't know about H.R. 2, and it's our border bill that the House Republicans passed that's sitting in the Senate. But here's a question. Do you understand the angst of people when they see us trying to send money to Israel, to Ukraine, and we have an invasion on our own border?
Sure.
And has Joe Biden led us to World War III with the Israel now attacking Iran?
I do not believe, first off, going towards World War III. But you can't tell a free and sovereign nation that is your best ally that just tried to have 300 missile strikes sent at them that and a 7-year-old child killed, that they can't have sensible strategic retaliation, and we can't even say it's. We have to say it's your battle. We are not in it with you. We joined you to knock them down. That's fine, but you've got to make those strategic. It would be like someone coming to tell us what we should have done after 9/11.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have to allow them to do that. As far as providing aid for Israel, let me tell you, and I want to say this very, very clear to your listeners.
Okay.
Whether you like it or not, we are a superpower. Yes, we need to secure the border. We've done everything I know how to do, but whenever you have a president, first off, he didn't need H.R. 2. I'm glad we sent it to him, and I'll be glad to vote for it again. I voted for it 3 times, or twice, and they're talking about we're going to vote for it maybe this week again. To send the message to people, we're doing everything we can do. But when you have a president that first off, didn't recognize the problem, then when he does recognize the problem, he doesn't have the answers. But the answers are you got to replace and do exactly what you took out that President Trump had put in place. I know that for a fact. And so we'll give the money to do that. But when it comes to Israel and Ukraine and Taiwan, we are dealing in a world where the threats to our nation are just knocking at the door, and it is much better to keep them outside the porch and not standing at the inner door. And so our investment, first off, I trust our money we invest in Israel because they don't abuse our money. We know where it goes.
Okay.
The problem with Ukraine is I don't know. I've got to really study this bill here for the Ukraine because we have not had oversight to make sure it's being spent wisely.
No,
and that's
60 Minutes reported that first $70 billion, or it's not 70, was used to support their small businesses. I mean, we have companies here. We have, we had Jim Urio on. We have a lot of small businesses and family-owned restaurants that could have used that money.
Yeah,
we're sending it overseas.
And the thing is, that's what oversight must be from Congress and in the law, that if we're going to give them that money, we get to do the oversight, that it goes for beans, bullets, and Band-Aids to make sure that Russia doesn't come over, take them first, and then start expanding their borders even more with other countries. And then, the situation, like I said, with Israel, we've never had a problem. We know where that money's going, and remember this, and this is the trade-off we've had with Israel. A lot of the technology that we've gotten is from a joint with Israel. So the technology that's in the Iron Dome, in David's Sling, and in Arrow is also the technology we use on the front of the ships that are floating out there. That was why we were able to intercept so many missiles.
Oh, okay.
And so, this is how we work with Israel as their closest ally, because they have some of the best technology, and they study this, and so do we. Don't get me wrong, but now in the case of China, the bad thing is they get some of our technology quite often, but they steal it.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
all right, Congressman Bost, we're gonna have to leave it there for today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, John.
Yeah,
thanks for
very informative conversation. 12th Congressional District, and also a Trump delegate, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one.